Welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. Right now, very happy to have on Seena Ghaznavi, a longtime friend of mine. He's a radio host, a podcaster on Lots Podcast Network, writer, and I'd say activist on some level as well. And one time a comedian. I don't know if you're still a comedian, Seena. You're still a comedian?
I try to be funny all the time, but
Fair enough.
I haven't been on stage in a minute.
All right. Well, see, it's good to see you because Seena's Iranian American. And I want the people to hear it's not a monolithic community, but from people in the Iranian American community, how they're responding, their reactions. I saw such an outpouring of reactions online from yourself and other friends who are Iranian American. I'm like, wow. And I didn't want to damper it by going, Trump's never going to give freedom. But I'm like, who do I, maybe not. I could be wrong, right? He could. So I'm pretty confident he's not, but that's not the point. So first of all, what can you share for people to have an understanding? It doesn't have to be great minutia, but like average life in Iran for Iranians who are not pro-regime.
Okay, so let me and thanks for sending me some topics, which when you were on my show, I did not send you topics before, but you were so good. And I'm so happy you did because I got to prepare a couple things. So on a personal note, my father passed away at the beginning of February this year.
Sorry. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, my friend.
Thank you. And it was, as also a producer, it was my job to produce the funeral, produce all the stuff that happened afterwards. Saddest. My mom says I should be a professional party planner for the dead. And I was like, that's a terrible job, Mom.
Wow.
I was like, technically that's a producer.
Great premise for a TV show though. But
yeah, exactly. So I was going through my dad's stuff, and you're like trying to find some little nugget. Maybe he has a secret kid, or I don't know, something like that. But like I found a lot of it. My dad, like in a very Persian way, always kept a little couple bucks in his pants everywhere. All cash was all over the place, and I found a bunch of Iranian riyals. Okay,
so she was holding it up right now because this is a place
I'm holding up. This is the radio. So it's like there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in Iranian riyals. Dean, I have $312,000 in Iranian riyals. How much do you think that is in US dollars?
$1 million.
You think it's $1 million?
I'm just being nice.
24 cents.
No.
24
That's a lot of paper you held up for 24 cents.
24 cents. And it's got this guy who's not with us anymore, both of them. This is the old Khomeinis on here. So
collect all the Khomeinis? Do you collect all the Khomeinis?
All the Khomeinis, yeah, exactly. Collect them all. They're like Pokemon. Listen, that is, I give you this example because when the people came out in the streets, I think it was, what was it, December? I don't even know what time it is anymore.
Yeah.
But it started because of inflation, and economic reasons have been the reason. A lot of times, of course, the oppressive social and cultural issues with the regime. But one of the galvanizing forces was if you were doing a job one day, it was a one-day job, right? And let's say you finished that job the next day and you got paid and it was supposed to be $100. That $100 is worth half as much the next day if you don't finish the job, because that's how much the inflation rate would increase. So of course, you're going to go out in the streets. You're going to be upset. On top of that, if all these other social pressures where the women in your family don't have equal rights as you do, all of these things combined. And what was different about this protest and this, uprising was that the bazaris, the merchants were involved because of the inflation rate. And that also brought in the clerics. So some of the clerics, even some religious conservatives, were even coming aboard. And it started from the outside. So what was life like under this regime? High inflation, absolute. The air people breathed was oppression. And this is what's so difficult to kind of like for, I think, people to wrap their brains around. Like, we have a tough time dealing with what's happening with ICE in America right now. Imagine that in every square inch of America. That is what life was like in the Islamic Republic.
And it was all controlled by the top, by the supreme leader and the IRG. And
it's a great question. So this is where the Trump administration, in their genius, thinks everything's controlled at the top, and if we just decapitate the snake, everything will be fine. Right. Same thing in Venezuela. If we just take out Maduro, everything will be fine. But regimes have a hierarchy, and the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Corps, they control the economy in Iran. Much like in Venezuela, the generals control the economy. So if you just take out Khamenei, which is great, by the way, no complaints from any Iranians there.
Sure.
But yeah, sure. But at the same time, you're not solving a fundamental problem with the regime. Of course, you'll see videos of people in the streets so happy that he's gone, and all these other
Yes.
murderous, oppressive people that are now gone. And a lot of Iranians are willing to even sacrifice their own life for that to happen. When they were going out in the streets in December, just going out in the street meant you could be killed. And so they all knew that when they were doing it. So the bombs that are dropping right now, many of them are like, fine, thank you. It's great. Whatever. I understand. It's like, imagine there's a boot on your neck, right? And you're being suffocated, and you look up, and Donald Trump is there with the biggest military in the world. You're not going to say to the guy that's got the boot on your neck, hey, let's talk. Why don't we talk about this first? You're going to say, hey, I don't care that you're kind of a pedo and that you sold mail order steaks and that you had a fake real estate university and that you're self-enriching yourself with Saudi Arabia. They don't care about any of that. None of that stuff matters when you got a boot on your neck and you can't breathe.
And that's a good way of putting it. And I'm glad. And I understood the great deal. I have many Iranian American friends.
Yeah.
At least two. No, I have many. And they were cheering. Like I saw on Instagram and some I was texting with. So tell us the cheering.
Yeah.
I imagine the Iranian American community is not monolithic. No community is. There's different. But was everyone in America who was Iranian American happy because they're not supportive of this regime?
So there's two kinds of happiness, I think, was what I'm seeing. There's a couple kinds of happiness. There's like the happiness of the people, or maybe a few. There's the happiness of people going out in the streets, right? And those people are in Iran, they're going out in the streets. But people in America here a lot of them are people that came here either before the revolution or after the revolution. I can tell you, my dad, if he was still alive, he'd be so happy. My mom, so happy that Khamenei has been killed, right? And but there are people, and I think I want to be very careful and clear when I say this. The bloodlust in our diaspora is problematic. There are so many people that wanted to kill this regime so badly that they are myopic in what's going to happen next. And so I'm one of these people, and I think our friend Ariane as well, from his posts that I've seen, Ariane Moayed. So we are happy that Khamenei's gone, but we also are wildly anxious and worried about what will happen next. Because the revolution is one thing, but what happens after the revolution matters just as much. And we learned that from 1979, right? The Shah was awful. He had a secret police that was murdering people. But then
What would they call it?
Savak, Savak, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
So after the revolution, the dust settles, and my dad was in the revolution. My parents loved it. It was great.
Wow.
This is great. We're getting rid of the Shah. This is going to be awesome, everybody. And it's like, then the dust settles, and it's like, oh no, things have gone terribly wrong. It's like, imagine we all like had a revolution to get rid of George W. Bush. Okay. And we were like, we did it. We got rid of George W. Bush. And then Donald Trump came in, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. This is terrible. Wait, I didn't sign up for this.
Right. That's a great point. And I wanted to touch on, because I was doing research yesterday. I knew life under the Shah wasn't great. And you can thank the U.S. and Great Britain for the Shah being there and no democracy, because there actually was a leader that was popular, Mossadegh. How do you pronounce his name? Mossadegh?
Mossadegh, yeah.
Mossadegh. And then they got rid of him because he wanted to nationalize the oil. So the UK and England, America, like, no, can't do that. But when I read about the Shah, I forgot how horrible. This guy was terrible to the people. He murdered more than 50,000 Iranians, they said. And it was all about oppressing the people. But he was pro-West. You know, it's like a pro-West dictator. And now you've got a dictatorship that's not pro-West. So the West's like, oh, we don't like this. So as long as you're pro-West and let us play ball with the oil, they were fine with it. So life was horrible for the people. So I think it's such an important point that you make. Life's horrible. People want a revolution. They get a revolution. And another layer, a new level of horribleness that they didn't expect comes in with the Ayatollah.
And there's the pro-Shah community, the pro-Crown Prince, and I'm sure we're going to talk about him as well here. They are so wrapped up in this retrotopia, this idea of the past being so rosy and wonderful. Because, of course, if you compare it to the Islamic Republic, anything is, anything is great compared to that. And I get it, but it is problematic. And now we're also seeing this pro-Shah movement is a pretty right-wing movement, frankly. And I'm getting a lot of so
people know, pro-Shah is the son of the Shah, is being touted by some elements within your community as he should be the new leader of Iran. That's my understanding from the outside. Is that correct?
I'm using quotes, transitionary leader of Iran. You know what I mean? So let me ask you, and this is the thing, that problem I have with the Shah's son, right? Is that I'm fine. People in Iran are calling his name and stuff like that, and you could say they're calling for him specifically, or they're just saying anything but what we have right now. But you produce the Arab American comedy show, right? You're the executive producer of that.
Two producers, me and Mason.
But I would say like you are a leader of that. You led that. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah, this guy hasn't led anything. You have more leadership experience than this crown prince.
He can't even do a comedy festival. Is that what you're saying? He can't get 25 comedians from around the country to come together.
This is a Playboy party boy that they are pointing to. Oh my God, this guy is a party guy. And now, since Masa Amini, he's somehow on the scene now. And he's like, I will be the transitionary man for the leader. It is my role in life. I'm like, bro, where have you been this whole time? You didn't start a nonprofit. You didn't run an activist group. You didn't even start a podcast. You could have done anything.
Not a podcast. This is bullshit. So this would be like us going, we want freedom. Why don't we install Donald Trump Jr. for a few years to oversee our transition to freedom? Baron. Or doesn't King George have some great-great-grandson, like from King George III that was the king over the United States in 1776? So you've got that thing. So let me ask you, from the outside, it seems like there's different components of the Iranian American diaspora community, right? And there's different ones who, some are well off, some are Jewish, and they have a different. Yes. I see some of them. They go to some of Maz's show. They live in New York. Some of those people I know. Then there's I don't know what other components are there. What can you share with us so we have a better understanding?
Yeah, so there's the like Israeli, Jewish, Persian kind of part of the diaspora, and there's a lot of bloodlust from there, right? Because of course Jewish people were wildly oppressed when the Islamic Republic came to power, sure. And then you've got the kind of anti-war, anti-West group as well, and so they're like, hey. They're the only thing that's anti-imperialist that's left in the world. And it's like, I don't know if you really understand what that means. I don't know. It's like, there's a lot of like people that are so pro-Palestine that they're like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And it's just like, I don't know if you know this guy, but they would not be your friend. It's like, they're not a good friend. And so then you've got the MEK, which is like the Mujahideen, El Haq, which is like this kind of culty group where they are led by this woman, and then like Lindsey Graham and who's that? Oh God, the former mayor of New York. I can't have a blanking on his name.
Eric Adams?
No, way back.
Ed Koch?
No, with the hair dye.
Rudy Giuliani.
Oh God, thank you.
Rudy Giuliani.
Brain fart.
Like
Rudy Giuliani. They go and do talks with them and stuff like that, and they're all about
good people. They have to be good people.
Exactly. So there's that group, and then you've got, I would say, people like me, which I think is a big group, which is people that are stuck in the middle, conflicted about what's happening. We are wildly upset about what's happened in Gaza. We know that the Islamic Republic would sacrifice every Palestinian if it meant that the Islamic Republic would survive. And we knew that they were bankrupting the people of Iran to back Hezbollah and the proxies and Hamas and all of these things. And we're against what Israel and the Zionist regime has been doing over there. But we're also understanding that the Islamic Republic is oppressing people in Iran, and we're happy for them to get going. But at the same time, we're also like, this war is not the answer. This is not a good idea. This does not help. I'm a kid who grew up in Pittsburgh. This does not help the guy that I go to the Steeler game with in Pittsburgh. His life is not better.
You were so conflicted. I don't know how you can even talk. Like, there's so much going on. I mean,
cooked.
Seriously,
my brain
you got like
is
a million.
Blender.
The voices in your head are like in that cartoon with Louis Black doing the voices, Amy Poehler. Like, they're all like yelling at each other. Like, what should we say? Say nothing. Just look straight ahead. Like, wow, that is remarkable. All the different competing interests that play out for people like you who are not in the middle politically, but in the middle of this push and pull, it seems like, between the different factions.
I find myself to be a very progressive, I would say even almost leftist, but I can't be a leftist because there's so many policies that relate to our foreign policy in Iran that I believe that we should be taking a more assertive stance on, right? I think that what was happening in Iran is a problem from hell, as Samantha Powers put it in her book, A Problem from Hell. And I think that's something we should have reacted to and acted upon. I think one thing that I've learned from the Trump administration when it comes to foreign policy is that we should not have been afraid to use the display of American power, right? If we actually wanted to stand up for democracy, and we wanted to make sure that the Venezuelan elections were, going to be good and correct and not, fraudulent, park a destroyer right outside of Venezuela and just be like, hey, take it easy. Make sure you guys are okay. The display of American force, I think, is something we have not used ever. And if we actually are serious about democracy, we could have done something.
I think you would need more of an international coalition to have credibility, because if the U.S. just sends a destroyer, it's clearly on one side or the other.
Yeah.
So I want to get your reaction. Donald Trump said Saturday after he left the party, put on his baseball hat and made that video. I say to the Iranian people that you're great people, which is nice. He started with you're great people.
Thank you.
And he said, I say tonight, the hour of freedom is at hand.
Oh,
when we are finished, take over your government. It'll be yours to take. This will probably be your only chance for generations. Probably that window closed about 24 hours, because the very next day, Lindsey Graham says no regime change. And then Pete Hegseth yesterday, point blank, said no regime change, no nation building, nothing about democracy. So now the goal went from someone put that in a speech. He read it, Trump, didn't think about it. And now the rest of people are like, we're not doing regime change. We have to put boots on the ground to do that, buddy. So he's like, oh, okay, nothing. So what's the reaction of the Iranian Americans to this kind of mixed message at the best?
So the pro-Shah people are like, no, this is a regime change. He's in it for us. He cares about us. They're completely diluted by this. They're like, the crown prince is going to come back. He's going to gallop in on a white horse and everything is going to be fine. And then people like us are like, we told you. We were telling you the whole time. Trump does not care about the Iranian people. He wants to say that he actually solved the Iran nuke problem better than Obama. He wants to self-enrich himself with all these different deals he's doing with oil and Saudi Arabia and all these things. He wants to go after China, which is also like a subtext to a lot of the moves that are happening geopolitically, both in Venezuela and in Iran. So these are those things. And I think it's super interesting that we are now seeing a future where the regime is still intact in some form. They just bombed the Assembly of Experts, which is basically like the cardinals that elect the next Shiite pope, right? And so they will find another way to elect another, pope guy. They'll find.
Have they never heard of the Zoom?
That's what I said. I was like, send an email.
Are you stupid? Like, you're going to meet now? They just killed everyone. Why don't we have a meeting and discuss it all together? That sounds like a good idea.
Yes, I'll send an Outlook invite. Everybody be on time. There's a war. We don't want to be late.
I bring some food. It'll be so nice. I'm telling you, my
breathtakingly stupid move.
My Iranian accent, I have to think of Maz, because he does the sing song. Like, how you doing, my friend? Oh,
yeah.
It'll be nice. That's Maz.
We draw out our vowels.
Like, how you doing? Hey, my friend. Hey, everything. So he does. So, all right. So Seena, if say the most likely scenario, and anything could happen. This war could be going on in a year, just as soon as it could end tomorrow. But say
I won't have any hair left.
What'd you say?
I won't have any hair left if it goes on for a year.
But what if it goes the most likely scenario? Say 2 to 3 more weeks. They bomb a lot of stuff. The IRG is still in somewhat control. They have all the weapons. Unless you're about to bring in weapons to arm everybody, the different factions, they leave. Do they become more brutal in their crackdown then, seeing who
This is my biggest fear, Dean. This is my biggest fear, that it's a military autocracy that takes over, that then makes a deal with Trump and says, we'll give you oil, access to the oil. We won't nuclearize. We're just going to have our own little standing military here, and we will do it. And honestly, I feel myself tearing up, because I'm like, it really is the thing that scares me the most, because it'll be a brutal for people there if that's the case. One silver lining, which is not necessarily silver, but like the Kurds in Iran they have the guns basically. They're starting to get together with the Baluchis and the Iranian Arabs that are in like Khuzestan and the ethnic minorities, because Persians are only 50% of Iran, right? The rest of Iran is made up of all these ethnic minorities that are kind of Turkish, like the Azaris, and so there's all kinds of different groups. And that's where these recent protests started from. They started from the outside. And so all of these groups could start to come together. And if they start to push into Tehran and push into government structures, that could change things. But then you could have a balkanized Iran, where you're just breaking it up, which again, Israel would like. I think the Gulf countries would like, because if it's broken up in a destabilized country, they're not a threat. And that's the other thing. These Gulf countries don't care about the Iranian people either.
No. And Israel, I mean, there's a lot of articles. I spoke to an expert recently, in fact, earlier today, who said that, Israel's best case scenario is a fractured Iranian state where it's no longer a threat to anyone, just internally, and even a civil war would be something that Israel would like. And if they can arm factions via our tax dollars as Americans, they would do that. To be blunt, that you could see that very much happening. So it's interesting, though, you point out only 50% of the population is Persian. So the other ethnic minorities, I talked to an expert earlier who talked about there's a militia of 1 million people.
Those are the Kurds.
Those are the Kurds. So the Kurds are the biggest militia?
Yeah, they've got the guns. They have their own kind of like political structures. The Kurds, they're like a stateless people, but they have their own systems of governance for themselves. Like I've never seen
where are
people
they in Iran? Where are they located in Iran? In the north?
They're kind of in like the northern. Let me just double check. I just want to be northern west part of Iran.
Okay.
But they're also they're smattered all over the place as well. But most of them are in the northwest area of Iran.
But if they are 1 million strong and they came in to a degraded Tehran, could they take over? I mean, do you think
they would need the other. So here's the thing: they need the other groups. So total in Iran, there's about probably 10 million. There's a country of 80 million. Remember that Ted Cruz interview with Tucker Carlson? It was so funny. About 80 million people in Iran. About 40 million are Persian, about 10 million are Kurds, and then you've got Baluchis in the southeast, you've got the Arabs in the Khuzestan, the Azeris also in the northwest. And so if these factions come together, because also the Arabs in the Khuzestan area, they have weapons as well. So this like militia that could form could go in. But again, this is me just like in a video game trying to hope that this happens, right? I'm seeing little reports here and there, but I don't know if it's going to happen. It takes a lot. There's never been an organized movement inside of Iran. That's the biggest challenge that the people face right now.
Maybe I could talk to the Arabs in the Iran.
Please do send an email to the list.
There's got to be a Mahmoud, or I'm sure there's a
buddy.
There's got to be a lot of Mahmouds I can reach out to and see if, I'm like, hey, Habibi, why don't we help Persian people out? And
let me tell you, at my dad's funeral a few weeks ago, I think 100% of the Persian rug dealers in Pennsylvania were there because my dad used to sell rugs. It was the funniest thing. There was a Mohammed, a Mahmoud, an Akhtar. It's all of them, man.
So look, I mean, you really laid out the different components of what's going on. And I guess one of the frustrating elements, in a way, also like being Palestinian American, is that I really can't have any impact except for doing this, talking about it and posting. So it's beyond my control. And it's very frustrating because I'm a control person. So, I mean, how do you navigate this?
Oh, I was just going to ask you how you navigated because I feel so helpless. Yeah.
Well, it took years for people. I'm not kidding. Growing up, it was completely hopeless. No, there was no pro-Palestinian candidates, nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody even knew who we were. Now public opinion has shifted. The latest opinion polls, more people are pro-Palestinian than pro-Israeli in America. If my dad was alive and he passed away 20 years ago, he'd be like, what happened in America? Like, how did this happen? Yeah. And I would say it was more organic. People got to see. So it took a long term. Now policy's got to follow that. Our policy is no different than it was 10 years ago in America. I think policy is going to change as younger people and newer people get elected to Congress, both on the right, some on the MAGA wing, and of course, general Democrats now I think are moving. But it took that long. You're going to have a moment of transition coming up, whatever that transition is going to be, an ending and bombing and a rebuilding. Because when you talk about, Iran, look, he got rid of the Ayatollah, we're happy. It's like when Trump talks about the Gaza redevelopment. That's not for the people. It's not for the Palestinians. Yeah. But we all know this. They might get like a nice tent and the rest of it for Jared Kushner's buddies buying timeshares on the beach. I mean, so I know I can't trust them. I know you guys can't trust them. Well, what should we be hoping for? As I'm watching the news and stuff, what should I hope for the Iranian people?
Trump Tower Tehran. That's what we should.
That's it. Really big. It's a huge picture of him. And you can
If
name
they promise that this war ends tomorrow.
Can they vote him the new Ayatollah? Like we have a new Ayatollah, it's Donald Trump. Trump, Ayatollah Trumpy, or something like that. And he's in charge of it now. I used to joke that he might be Muslim because he doesn't drink alcohol and he's got 3 wives. A joke about that. Now I'm on no connection to the idiot. So is there anything? Should we look for any hopeful signs as I'm watching the news about what's going on?
Honestly, now that we're in it, now that the war has started, now that the U.S. and Israel started it, they have to finish it, and that's what I'm worried about. They have to wipe out the regime, and it doesn't bring me joy to say this, but it's like if you leave any part of the regime left, right, then you sold out the Iranian people. Then all of this was like not in vain necessarily, because they took out a lot of the people that were their murderers, but this is not going to ultimately help them at the end of the day. And maybe they'll have some economic boon if there's like a military autocracy or whatever, but this is not self-determination. And I know you know that very well. It's just like the people deserve the ability to choose the system of governance that they want. And they haven't had that in a very, very long time.
It'd be remarkable if that would happen. Well, look, I'm rooting for the Iranian people to have the freedom and self-determination that they certainly deserve as human beings. And I don't know. So I'm not going to put dampers on it anymore. Whatever it's going to play out the way it's going to play out.
Yeah.
If somehow, I really wish if they would build an international coalition now, focus on helping the Iranian people and getting rid of the regime, like making some kind of offers to get the people out. But I don't have answers to it. I'm just saying something like that.
At least on that note, that the international coalition part is extremely important. We went with this without anybody. I think you just had Europe designate the IRGC as a terrorist organization like a month ago. It's like, where is Europe on this? Where is everyone else? On the Palestinian question, we at least had people over the last couple of years that were like, hey, we're going to recognize Palestine. We're going to recognize Palestine. Right. Things have changed. And so we needed that. By the way, they were late too. Everyone should have done this a long time ago. But it's like better late than never. And so I think that's what we need.
The only sad lesson, it took a genocide.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the reality. If it wasn't for the genocide in Gaza, we would be no different. We're having the same conversation we've been having all my life. That changed it. Just the barbarity of what we all saw and younger people. So, Seena, if people want to follow your work, where can they go? What's the best place?
So at Seena Now and all the socials, I also do a weekly geopolitics show called The Foreign Report. That's on Last Podcast Network. So that's been really fun to do and really difficult. I thought it was going to be just like a cute geopolitics show where you could nerd out on what's happening around the world. And now it's just like constant wars and violence and genocide. We talk about genocide way too much on that show, but here we are.
Well, thank you, Seena, for spending some time. I wish you and your family the best, and your family in Iran the best. They deserve self-determination and freedom, as all people do, to be blunt. So thanks, brother. Take care.
Thank you, Dean.